Fed up with unfit political candidates getting elected to office? I know I am. Intoxicated by their power, these people who should not have been elected are gutting our rights to access to health care, voting, and public education, to name just a few. They're getting elected because a certain political party, the Democrats, abandoned local elections in favor of a top-down, DC-focused, trickle-down election strategy that just doesn't work. And that's why I've created this series of 5 videos to teach you how to investigate political candidates in an effective way. I believe that all politics is local, and if enough democratically aligned interest groups and individuals implement what I'm teaching here, we can turn the tide, protect our rights, our loved ones, and our communities from their hatred and devastation. In this first video, we'll discuss the basic elements involved in conducting a political investigation, and most importantly, how to do them effectively enough to convince voters not to vote for those candidates willing to use their power to harm our communities. In the videos that follow, we'll cover how to locate, search, and access powerful public records that form the backbone of a political investigation, how to identify and interview people with information about the unfit candidate, and how to help them feel comfortable going public, how to assess the information you find, and finally, how to package the information to give to the media and bloggers or to bring directly to the voters. Hi, I'm Mike Corwin. I train democratically aligned interest groups and individuals how to reshape local elections by investigating and exposing to the voters political candidates who are unfit for office. I've been featured in Professional Investigator magazine and Politico magazine, both of whom sought me out to write articles for their readers on conducting political investigations. I started out conducting investigations to build cases for attorneys in 1988 in Los Angeles, California. In 2002, I began conducting political investigations in New Mexico, where I impacted the outcome of hundreds of races by the time I retired in 2019. I actually used this approach that I teach myself when I ran for the State House in New Mexico in 2004 and seriously outperformed and overperformed the typical results for Democrats running in the overwhelmingly Republican district where I lived. And if you're ready to get started investigating, I've got a great gift for you, my free political investigation checklist. Here you'll find the sources of information that I used to investigate and expose unfit candidates and to keep them from winning elections. To get started, just click on the link in the description below. Now, let's dig in. So as we get started, we need to understand why some political investigations fail miserably at what their goal is and others are wildly successful. The main reason is that there are some that are done professionally where they actually build up what's essentially a bank of evidence that's irrefutable. And to do that, you need to be able to document the information you have, or you need to have people who can publicly come forward. It's essentially the same way that you build cases for trial. And it's very important that we think about those components. We don't ever want to go forward with information that isn't documented in a way that's strong enough to sustain scrutiny. So this is really critical that you do that. So in other words, we don't want to be that organization that just throws wild accusations out there. We want to bring the information forward with documentation or with people who can speak publicly and confirm that information. So that's the main difference between building an investigation that's credible and effective versus one that's not. In addition to that, there are ways of using the information. For example, if you build an investigation and you come forward with some pretty strong information, but you take the wrong tack to bring it forward, and in doing that, you find that you are then giving them an easy way out. So now we're going to talk about the types of information you need to get your investigation started and where you find it. The most important place to start is actually where it's the self-reported information by that candidate, whether it's their website, whether it's their contribution reporting forms that they have to file, or their declaration of candidacy. You always want to start with the information they provide. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. Most importantly, that's your basis. You're going to look at the narrative that they craft for themselves, and you're going to try to find the areas in there that you can investigate and maybe prove to be false or to be inflated, that type of thing. You also want to know where this person is from, what counties they've lived in. The information that we're going to use to build our investigation is often stored at the county level of different places. And the days of a candidate being forever local within that, within your community may not be the case. They may be from somewhere else, or they may have lived for a while somewhere else. You need to know where these places are so that you can know where to look. And then finally, in addition to that, you want to know, do they have any businesses? Are they connected to any businesses, to any kind of groups where you may be able to draw in and invest, research on the businesses, research on the groups that you can then connect back to them. So we always want to start with the candidate's own supplied information. That's giving you the information that you need to then begin your investigation. And then finally, look, we want to get their full name. We want to get their middle name if they have it. We want to know what community they live in, so that when we pull up information on a person with that name, we know it's specifically on that candidate and not somebody else who has the same name. Finally, for this first video, I want to talk a little bit about investigative mindset and what that means. When you are conducting an investigation, we're not looking for the least amount of information we can develop. We want to go to the other end of the spectrum. We want to get as much information as we can, and we want to corroborate as much of that information as possible. Now, sometimes you're going to do an investigation and you're just not going to find anything, and you have to say to yourself, okay, we don't have the information, and either you leave this race alone or you look for a different approach. Maybe it's just about policies and you just focus on policies, because there are going to be times that you cannot find information. And unlike certain groups that have been litigated extensively, you just don't make stuff up, right? If there's nothing there, admit it and move on. In the next video in this series, we're going to cover how to build an investigation using the different types of public records, what sources are most effective, the types of information you can find, and how to access those records. And if you're ready to get started investigating, I've got a great gift for you, my free political investigation checklist. Here you'll find the main types of sources of information that I use to expose these unfit candidates to the public and to keep them from winning elections. To get started, just click on the link in the description below.